In today's video, I want to give you a whole bunch of ideas on how you can improve fine motor skills in babies. I've done a lot of videos on fine motor skills before in the past for preschoolers, kindergartners, and also babies and toddlers, but I really wanted to focus this one on babies because in my last one for toddlers, you guys said you wanted to see it. So today we are talking about fine motor skills for baby. Hey you guys, it's Christina from the Purple Alphabet. How is it going? We are going to be talking about the little ones today, the babies, and how you can start working on fine motor skills. Now, why do we do the fine motor skills? It's because those muscles in our hands are important to develop as we grow and strengthening them so that we can have those strong muscles developed for writing. It makes writing so much easier, doesn't get tired as much, and it's just a really good thing to work on those little hand muscles. It'll help them out in the long run. And people often ask me a lot of times, when did we start these fine motor skills? Well, you can start it as early as the baby age and work your way up. There's different kinds of games and activities you could do for each age group, but today's focus is going to be about babies. If you don't have a baby and you still want to work on fine motor skills, that's okay too, because I have a lot of videos that you can watch that address that. Plus I talk about fine motor skills throughout most of my videos too and kind of point out when you're doing it. And I like to point out too that a lot of things that you do in play are doing fine motor skills, so you're probably already doing them and you don't even know it. And without further ado, let's get on to those fine motor skills for babies. Some of these activities I'm going to show you are kind of adaptations from activities I've done before in the past. We're talking like years ago, and one of those is a wipes container. Everyone who has a baby probably has a wipes container. So this one is an empty one. It has this hole in here. All the activities that you can think of with a wipes container, I highly recommend. In fact, I'm going to use out of my sensory pom-pom, and then probably I have a bunch of fine motor tools in here that I talk about a lot. This is probably a little too advanced for a baby, but a scoop isn't. So these came from the dollar store, and I am just going to get all of the large pom-poms out of here because they're just a little bit easier for those tiny hands. And so basically anything that is like a fill and dump activity is going to work really well for the baby age and be very fascinating. I like these giant pom-poms. I think you can get them at Michael's or at Home Goods because they're just so bright and colorful and they're a good size. Use supervision, you guys. You don't want the babies putting these in their mouth. If your child is oral, I have a solution for that coming up a little bit later in the video. This one is for babies that don't put things in their mouth. Got a whole bunch here. Actually, I'm not even gonna keep them in the cup. I'm just gonna spread them around because we got babies and babies like things all around, right? If you don't want a choking hazard, go ahead and try using fabric or large scarves. That would also work really well. But this is a fill and dump. And I really mean fill and dump. So the action of, well, let's start off down here. The action of actually grasping and picking them up is a fine motor skill. And then the second is putting them inside the box and then pushing them in one by one. This is excellent fine motor skills that babies like. It's fun, it's colorful, the balls are soft, and it's a very simple activity. And the best part they like is when they can put them, after they put them all in, I'm gonna kind of skip ahead here, they can open it up. They might need a little bit of help and dump them out. So this is fine motor just with those fingers. Up it up with your scoop. Scooping is another skill to be had, and dumping them in like this. And it's not that easy. If you don't have pom-poms, you don't want to buy them, you can also use cotton balls. Cotton balls work really well. Same kind of effect, and you're scooping them in. If you don't have a scoop, get a cup like this, and they can scoop with the cup. Simple, you guys. So this is a baby wipes container fill and dump and scoop fill and dump. This activity is from an older video, but I still think it's an amazing activity. If you have one of these balls, which are pretty popular for babies because they are great for grasping onto and holding because they have the holes in them, and you have some fabric squares. I got these fabric squares, I think from Walmart. They're the quilting squares. Or if you have scarves, all you need to do is stuff them inside the ball and then one by one, have your child pull them out and stuff them back in. It's a great exercise of pull and push, And this one is super simple and super easy. You can also use these same squares, fabric squares and scarves in that wipes container for another so it's multiple uses. If you want to get really creative, get fabric squares that have texture to them, and then you can have a really great sensory component to it as well. You guys, if you like these kinds of videos, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you be a part of the Purple Alphabet community, in which we do educational activities for kids, ideas and inspirations to learn through play. We do giveaways and hauls, and I show you where I get these things too. And of course, if you are new, leave me a comment, say hello, and if you aren't new, say hello too, because you know I like to read the comments and show them here on the screen. So thanks so much for leaving a comment, you guys. This muffin tin came from all places you probably can guess. Dollar store, right? The Dollar Tree. It's a very popular one. I have had this same tray, muffin tin, oh my gosh, I would say at least 7 years now. Maybe 6 years, probably 7. And it's held up so well. I've used it for everything. Got 6 holes in there. So if you look at the channel, you'll probably see a lot of activities with this exact same muffin tray. You can use those pom-poms and putting them in here as a sort and dump. Babies probably won't know to sort them yet, but they would like to fill them up and then dump them back out, or scoop them up and put them inside. But that's not the activity I had planned for this muffin tin. I just want to let you know that you could do something like that if you wanted to extend your materials. My suggestion for this one is a simple Cheerios activity, and it's very similar to using the pom-poms, but this is one that is safe to eat. So if your child can eat some Cheerios, this is going to be very easy. One by one you can put them in if they are able to. The thing is, that's a more advanced fine motor skill because they're using those 2 fingers, the pincer grasp, to move them and manipulate them in there. So that's going to be your kind of toddler age, but your babies are going to be grasping them like this, as they should. That's the skill they're going to do. And then moving them over. They're probably not going to be that neat. They're probably going to be more like this, which is totally fine. So it's grasping them. And then as they get older, you're going to want to work on doing the pincer grasps one by one and moving them over. If you want, you can do a scoop too. Scooping is always a fun one, and they can move them over. More advanced activities can include some tools. I always show you these tools right here, which are in my Amazon store, and I'll put the link down below in the description box. And there's all sorts of fine motor tools. This is more of the toddler age. Once they get that pincer grasp down, then they can move on to something that's a little bit more difficult with all of these different kinds of tools to grasp things and transfer. So I know this video is for babies, but I just want to let you know that stuff like this is out there, so you can advance it higher levels if you need to and do some fine motor skills that way. But your baby age is not going to be able to use these quite yet, but they will be able to grasp them with their hands in a fist, and that's what you want them to do. And then later you can graduate to that pincer grasp. And if they eat one, it's totally okay, right? So this is a great activity, dumping and filling. If you're gonna do this on a high chair, just be forewarned, it might fall on the floor. So set up your child on the floor. If you're worried about the mess, these sweep up really easy. If you're really worried, put down a sheet or something for them to play on, but it's gonna be a lot of fun for them while you're cooking dinner and they get to play with Cheerios. Here's an activity from another older video. It is a box ribbon pull that I use with a simple box. Cut some holes, put some ribbon in them, tied knots on each one of the ends so they couldn't get through. And it's a pull box. So you take one side and you pull it all the way through until it stops. And then you can pull it on the other side all the way back. Once again, this is working on that pincer grasp, and it's kind of a fun way. And the child is pretty curious on how this actually works. I definitely recommend trying this if you haven't already, because you're just using simple materials that you probably have around your house already. Here I brought out one of my trays, but you know what works really well for this is like a high chair tray or even just a tabletop. And then I have some tape here. This is floor tape that came from the Dollar Tree. You can use masking tape. I wouldn't recommend using Scotch tape as it tends to tear very easily, and this doesn't. So I have different colors here, which makes it kind of fun. And I'm going to put some pieces on my tray. I'm going to use different lengths and different sizes, and you can do as many as you want. I just like this kind of tape because it's a little thicker and it doesn't rip as easily. For a very simple activity, so a baby that's just barely doing this, I would just tap it on here very gently. Don't have to really push it down there good. And then I also wouldn't put too many. You don't want to frustrate the child. So this is a simple tape pull. So like I said, if it's a new activity, leave a little bit up at the end and they're going to peel off the tape all the way. It's a very satisfying kind of activity. If this is too easy for them, you can make sure you push it all the way down and they have to, use their fingers to get that tape off. Even more complicated is layering them and adding more pieces of tape. Another addition to this that's fun is adding an element or a toy underneath the tape and taping down all the toys. This isn't really a toy, but I don't have any baby toys, you guys. We're past the baby stage, but let's pretend this is a baby toy, maybe a rattle. And instead of just taping down, you can tape down the toy. You can use one piece of tape, a couple pieces of tape, and so in order to get that toy out, they have to unravel all that tape. So this is fun, fine motor activity that you can do, really simple and easy, and it can be really colorful too. One of the components of fine motor is being able to squeeze with their hands and fingers. This is a tray that I got from the dollar store recently, Dollar Tree to be exact. They're called activity trays. I haven't used it yet, as you can tell. So I'm gonna take off that label, and I'm gonna pull out some elements from this busy bag I have. That's a water transfer activity. Transfer activity is probably more of the toddler and preschooler age, but I wanted to show you some different things that you could use for squeezing. So I have some little bits of sponges. You could use bigger sponges so they're not a choking hazard, but I only have the cut up pieces here in different colors. And so you have squeezing opportunities. Fill this up with water, get a water tray, a water table, a Tupperware, a big one filled with water, or if you just have a shoebox size, that's fine. Or a little tray like this is totally fine too. Be forewarned, it might end up on the floor. They are babies, by the way, so keep that in mind, or even use it in the bathtub with sponges and washcloths. But basically, it's saturating the sponges with water and squeezing out the water with their hands, manipulating the sponge. Use bigger sponges though. Or using something like this, like a syringe. This comes out of that toolkit I showed you earlier, and it's squeezing that bulb to get the water in and out and working on those muscles. So this little action right here is increasing that muscle tone in those little hands, squeezing the sponges, same thing. Use this in the bathtub, use this outside in water play, water tables, if you're brave inside the house in a sensory bin, and it gives you some good opportunities to work on that squeezing function. Awesome activities, and these activities are hits. I'm telling you, anything with water, kids love it. For an older baby, probably 6 months and older, you can start working on block stacking. And this is actually a developmental milestone that you probably want to achieve. And if they don't achieve it by 6 months, it's okay. Just keep an eye on them and help them with it. But it's just block stacking. So taking a couple of blocks and be able to stack them one on another. They're only going to be able to do one first, and then they can work up to 6 and sometimes up to 12 around 1 to 18 months of age. Like I said, it's one of those things that takes practice. So if they're not doing it, it's okay. They will in due time. But just stacking blocks, it sounds simple, but it is totally a great skill because you're working on the grasping of picking up the block and the actual balancing of it on another one. And then it gets more difficult, as you get higher up in the stack. I know everyone has blocks. Another thing are Legos or Mega Blocks, the big Duplo blocks, the same thing. Those are great because they form together and you have to pull them apart. So you have some pushing and pulling apart, which are two different kinds of muscle functions. And so those are also great. So if you have those, keep it up and bring them out to play with. If you have a really great idea on developing fine motor skills for babies, of course, I have to know about it. I love it when you guys leave a comment and you share your ideas and you read each other's comments and you comment back to one another. That is amazing. And that's why I like you guys. So make sure to leave a comment down below if you have a really great idea you'd like to share. Click subscribe to see more videos like this and give me a thumbs up to show your love.